Yo, what's going on, guys? Jay here, and man, if you guys follow me on the Instagram at Talking.Hip-Hop, you know I've been teasing this review for at least like 2 to 3 months. So first of all, let me apologize real quick. Let me apologize. My bad. I get backed up sometimes. I'm a human just like everyone else doing everyday type of things. And this kind of fell to the back burner for a little bit, but today I was like, you know what? We got to get this shit out the way. I can't keep saying it's coming. HARDSTONE PSYCHO by Don Toliver. This album is a few months old already, but when there's not a lot of active albums that I'm trying to review, I asked you guys on my Instagram story what I should check out, what you guys want me to review. So after this, in a couple weeks, you could expect the Samurai by Lupe Fiasco review. Gonna be completely different than this one, honestly. That's like such a vibe switch up, but I like to see what you guys are interested in me talking about. And recently, there hasn't been a lot of albums that I've wanted to review or had a lot to say about. You could expect the Chromacopia review when it comes. You could also expect a review for Uzi's album when it comes, and I'll probably even do a double review for the 2 West Side Gun albums, because I love West Side Gun. I fucking love, you know what I mean? Like, those are important albums that I want to talk about. But right now, HARDSTONE PSYCHO, Don Toliver. Let's get into it. So, I like HARDSTONE PSYCHO. Not to spoil the review, but a large reason why this album is good and why I like it so much is because Don Toliver was able to come back from a weak and disappointing album like Lovesick, which I did not like. I thought that was bad, and it definitely made me question Don's abilities going forward personally. I feel like a lot of other people might have shared that sentiment. But he gave us his own rendition of like modern trends in hip-hop and doing things that are popular, but also in his own way, and made a concise, high-energy album. He engages hard into the rage trap soundscape and brings a biker gang aesthetic that he taps into every now and again. The aesthetic is there. It's not the focal point of the album like the cover would lead you to be, but it does have the biker aesthetics and lyrics at points. It's not anything crazy, but it is lingering. In the past, a lot of Don Toliver's albums are moody and melodic based, but he is able to bring those vibes here, but also brings a lot of intensity and a lot of energy on HARDSTONE PSYCHO and completely refreshes his sound and shows what else he has to bring to the mainstream rap scene. Because I did say he's tapping into a lot of more mainstream sounds, but it's not like he's riffing. It doesn't sound like half-hearted. He's really truly bringing his own energy and own passion to some of these types of, again, rage trap aesthetics and things like that. The Cash Cobain production as well. He's doing his own thing with it and showing that he has maybe more versatility than we thought. And I guess the main theme of what makes this album so good that I'm going to be talking about is that it's super refreshing. If I had to describe this album in one word, that would be the word. Because, yes, Heaven and Hell is pretty great. Life of a Don is pretty great. Lovesick sucks, but all 3 of those albums are very much playing the same type of vibes, same type of aesthetics, and the same type of like rapping, melodic, auto-tune performances from Don. And that's good because the first 2 albums I like. The first 2 albums are really good, and I enjoy them a lot. But by Lovesick, that sound is tired out, and you start wondering, is Don Toliver a one-trick pony? Can he still do it? And here, he completely revitalizes himself. He brings himself again into the kind of newer, more modern rage trap type of scene without it feeling corny, though, and without it feeling forced. And I think this album is going to be pretty pivotal to Don Toliver's future success, because here, he really did come through and not drop the best or most well-written album of all time, but he showed that he has a lot to him, that he has a lot of depth to his artistry, and he has some creative visions. As we get into the actual songs on this album, I thought it would be fun to break it down by disc because in interesting fashion, Don Toliver did break this album up into 4 segments with 4 different discs, each containing 4 songs. And though it doesn't seem like there's any type of real theme or concept or anything that goes into these discs, it's just 4 songs by 4 songs by 4 songs by 4 songs, but I still thought that would be the most effective and efficient way to break it down, as well as getting to talk about the names of some of these discs, which I didn't know until today because I decided to look it up. But disc 1 is self-titled, it's HARDSTONE PSYCHO, and we get the intro, Kryptonite. So Kryptonite is a fun opener to the album where we get an eerie electric guitar-based build to a rage-styled beat drop. We get some solid rapping from Don with the type of simplistic bars that are going to carry through this album, like, I'm doing drugs, I'm back again. We also get a great beat switch halfway through into a dark trap banger that kicks the tempo up a notch, and Don Toliver's bringing some faster and more higher energy flows. We also get a vague reference to biking here, which is kind of the extent of the biker aesthetic throughout this album. Just random lyrics at points where he references maybe some motorcycle revving noises, but I pull up like a biker, and now I'm geeked. Like, just very simple stuff like that. And overall, I would say this is a solid and exciting enough introduction that brings you into the world and the aesthetic that Don Toliver is going for on HARDSTONE PSYCHO, and it prepares you for this album pretty well. The following track, Tore Up, is another electric guitar-based rage-styled instrumental with a repetitive chanting chorus and some fast flows from Don Toliver. I will say as well, another thing that kind of carries consistent throughout this album is the use of electric guitars. They are very prevalent in almost every rage trap-styled beat here, and it creates some sonic consistency, but also it doesn't really get old at any point, which is a good thing. It never feels stale. It's always kind of refreshing and kind of nice because we've never heard Don over these type of instrumentals before. We also get bars here like, I hop up on my bike, it's peace and adios, which again is the same type of referencing that he likes to ride motorcycles things. And he's rapping about doing drugs and having sex here a lot throughout this whole album. This is a very deep into the 3 W's of mainstream hip-hop. If you've watched my reviews before, you know the 3 W's. It's weed, wealth, and women, which is what mainstream rap is really about for the most part. That's what, you know what I mean? I talk about this with Travis Scott, Drake, 21 Savage, and just the mainstream trap scene. This is what you should be expecting. This is what you're getting content-wise going to it. And also the occasional motorcycle reference on HARDSTONE PSYCHO. And this is a fun burst of energy early into the track list. Solid track. Now moving on to Brother Stone with Kodak Black. This is one of my favorite songs on the whole album. This is one of the most replayable songs on the whole album. You get a very hypnotic trap instrumental with some trill piano keys that lock you into this song instantly. It's a very catchy, get stuck in your head type of track. And Kodak Black carries the most of this song with a catchy chorus and a very solid verse as well. His flow is great and he floats over this instrumental with his bars in the trap, they gonna stay by tomorrow. Like the way he ends his bars with that Donna. It's very unique. And Kodak Black, though not the best rapper of all time, he does have a knack for creating these super unique flow patterns that really just get stuck in your head. And this is one instance of that, and again, what makes this track so good. Of course, halfway through the song, you get some electric guitars kicking into the instrumental about halfway through. Don plays off of Kodak very well, and they surprisingly have some good chemistry, because I don't think these guys have ever collabed together. But overall, Don's contributions don't really matter. They're, you know what I mean? They get the fun back and forth at points, and Don's verse is fine and solid. But really, you're here for the instrumental. You're here for Kodak Black's charged up performance. This is a super fun track, super trill, very much Houston vibes on it, right? And you do get questionable bars from Kodak Black, of course, as you're going to expect, as he drops bars like whipping up the baby like goo goo gaga. Kind of a miss there, I'm not going to lie. But like I said, one of the best songs on this album, one of the ones I revisit the most, and a very impressive Kodak Black feature. Kodak Black has a knack for either being super good on a feature like on Silent Hill or just absolutely garbage like on This and That by Big Sean. Like, there's no real in between. The last track on this first self-titled disc is Attitude, which was, I believe, the 3rd single released leading up to this album. This features Charlie Wilson and Cash Cobain. Now, if you know me, if you've been watching this channel, listen to the podcast. By the way, go over to Spotify, follow the Talking Hip Hop Show. New episodes every Wednesday at noon. This coming week, we'll have a little discography ranking for the weekend in anticipation of Hurry Up Tomorrow. I got an interview with King the Divine coming up. You do not want to miss that. But anyways, talking about Attitude, if you know me, you know I don't like Cash Cobain. You know I think his instrumentals are repetitive. They are rinse and repeat drum patterns, and they are just not good for the most part, right? They had their shine when they first came out and was like, oh, this is cool, this is new, but now he just does the same thing over and over again. I will say, I think the Charlie Wilson vocal sample is super unique and adds some character to this track. And Charlie Wilson also has a great bridge here. He adds that type of personality, that type of soulfulness to this song that makes it different than other Cash Cobain songs and other songs in this vein. It makes it a more interesting cut, but it doesn't save for the fact that Cash's rapping parts here are short but add nothing, and Don does his best over this track, but overall I find it to be pretty boring and weak. I like his melodic choruses, but here his verses leave some to be desired. Especially, I feel like this track is very disjointed, you know? Like, I feel like it was a cool idea in theory. You get Cash Cobain, Charlie Wilson, and Don Toliver. Ooh, that could sound cool, but you know, this track really relied on a strong Don Toliver performance, and personally, I don't feel like we got that. I'm not the biggest fan of this track. Now we're on to disc number 2, Dead Man's Canyon, which is a dope name, but again, I'm not really finding any type of anything that links these 4 tracks any more than the other 4 tracks are linked. You know what I mean? Maybe on the 4th disc there's a little bit of a theming going on, but that's it. Anyways, the first track on this disc is Bandit. This was the lead single that peaked at 38 on the Billboard Hot 100. Stayed there for 18 weeks as well. This was a big solo hit for Don Toliver. It was used in some commercials and is carried by a sample of One More Hour by Tame Impala off of their 2020 album, The Slow Rush. I love Tame Impala and think that Reed MD, the producer of this track, really gave us a solid instrumental with an innovative raised trap style beat, but this track never really clicked for me like that. I know a lot of people probably like this, and I don't think this is a bad track. Like, Don gives an energetic performance here. His verses are pretty memorable. He has a good chorus. He gets vocally experimental on his second verse with some really nasally deliveries that we've never heard from Don before. This track has a lot going for it. But to me, it's good and not much more than that. It never really resonated with me. You know, it's not on any playlist. I'm not playing this at any functions. Like, it's a cool song. And good for Don that it was successful. He doesn't have a lot of solo hits, so I'm glad that this song was very good for him, but not my cup of tea. Now we got to talk about one of my favorite songs here, where Power Trav and Tommy Parker flip Exhale by Whitney Houston in an excellent way to make a super low-key and luxurious rage-style beat that evokes a very strong emotional feeling as well. This track really hits you, it really connects with you, and it is because of this great production. Like, oh my god. If you know Glock, you know what I'm talking about. This is a great fucking beat. Don gives us one of his most passionate singing performances on this album. He keeps reiterating that he wants his girl to hold his Glock when he's in the club because the hoes in the back want to show him love. And it's so conflicting because this evokes a very strong emotional feeling. But here Don Toliver's like talking about getting some play from like women at the club and asking his girl, I believe his girl at least, to hold his Glock. But it's such a simple phrase, such a simple chorus that he goes for here, but it feels like the sweetest thing with his heartfelt delivery and this entrancing instrumental. Like, it really feels like he's playing to some like lovey-dovey type of thing here, even though he's not, which is one thing Don Toliver does very well. Not that it's like the greatest skill to have, but he's good at making a song about like flirting with other women sound like a romantic type of thing. His verse is also solid, but I really just like the vibe of this song. And Don absolutely capitalizes on the aesthetics here. Like, he really kills it. His singing is great. And this is the closest to a sexy drill song I've ever enjoyed. I know Cash Cobain is a big part of the sexy drill wave, which I don't really get. I think it's a little silly. I think it shows how played out drill is at this point in mainstream rap, that now we have sexy drill. But this song makes me get it a little bit. You get the very soft, like luxurious, like just super nice instrumental, just super lush. And you get like, you know what? I see it, and I really like Glock. One of my favorite tracks here. The next track, Ice Age. This is really just a Travis Scott song featuring Don Toliver, but that is not a bad thing here. Let's be honest. We get a hypnotic, moody, nocturnal trap beat from 206 Derek, Benny X, Cash Cobain, and Mikey Freedom Hart. And this honestly feels like a leftover instrumental from Astroworld. It's in that same type of vibe as like an Astro Thunder or a Houston Fornication. Travis Scott does a majority of the legwork here with his great melodic delivery and impressive catchy pockets that he hits on his verses. Especially when he's just saying that everyone at Cactus Jack is nasty. That part when he's like, you know the Chase nasty, know the Jack nasty. I didn't do it that good because I'm not Travis Scott, but his melody there is great. His flow is super catchy. Love that part of the song. The lyrics themselves are pretty random and basic and simple, as you'd expect from this duo. Don doesn't come on the track till like 2 minutes and 30 seconds into it, but he has a nice performance with a couple of biking references, like she's on my handlebars, she's on my handlebars, and it does not take away from this great song that Travis Scott laid down here. He really got into it on this one. 4x4 used to be one of my favorite tracks on this album, to be honest. It really fell off for me. Booming, straightforward rage beat with some strong electric guitars, as you'd expect, and a solid Don Toliver performance, that's how you could characterize a lot of this project, if we're being honest. Solid banger here, but nothing crazy, and features some prominent Don Toliver lyricism like, I ride my motorcycle, make her pussy pop, and chew on the dick like it's Doublemint. I do like this album a lot, but it shows you that Don Toliver is truly one of the weakest lyricists in mainstream rap. I mean, he is on the same level as someone like a Lil Uzi Vert, like really just bad lyrics sometimes. Because what? Chew on it? Chew on it? Are you sure about that, Don Toliver? Are you bragging about that? Like, bro, go to the doctor. Come on now. He is very experimental with his vocal range on this song, and it goes from points where he's whisper rapping to him getting into a deep voice delivery when he says, "Make her pussy pop," in reference to his motorcycle. The beat gets darker on the outro, and we get some menacing Don Toliver delivery, which is a rarity, and I really enjoyed that last 30 seconds of 4x4, and it's a nice sonic change of pace. Disc 3, The Promised Land. But yeah, this kicks off with Purple Rain, which features the dynamic duo of the year, Future and Metro Boomin. You get a great, spacey, melodic type ballad song here. At least on the intro where they're, "Can you say for real and tell the truth? Yes, I do." But yeah, I love this Metro and Zaytoven production. High-paced trap beat that has passion, some warbling synth, and a great pitched-up vocal sample in the background as well. Very progressive instrumental as well that evolves to match Don and Future's passionate performances. Obviously, when Metro's on the keys, you're gonna get a beat like that changes throughout, and I love that. This is one of the best produced tracks here. Very great collaboration where Future and Don Toliver have some solid chemistry and are deep in their 3Ws bag, of course, talking about women, weed, and wealth. Definitely a super enjoyable cut here, but the next track, New Drop, has got to be one of my least favorites here. This starts off as like a club-styled cut with that doop, 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 doop pounding drum, but then transitions into a nocturnal-style trap beat where that's where Don's rapping, doing his verses, but then when it hits the chorus on the song, it switches back to that club-styled instrumental. Don's got two girls in the club, and he doesn't know which to choose. Towards the end of this track, the drums pick up, and we get a more evolved trap beat, but overall, I never really liked this song, and it walks the line of having too many different parts, but also feeling like really disjointed and boring as hell. Like, Don Toliver is doing a bit too much on this track, and it gets boring despite the fact so much is going on, just because it doesn't work. The beat switches back and forth here just don't work for me, and I think it takes away from, honestly, a weak Don Toliver performance. So New Drop is just a miss regardless. Backstreets with Tizo Touchdown is another song that I'm not crazy about. It strikes me as basic Don and sees him reverting to some of my least favorite moments from Lovesick with those exotic strings and some hi-hat drums and a pretty basic trap beat where Don gets melodic about wanting to fuck. He's doing slow verses, not very fast flows, kind of, in that melodic singy type bag, and it just, this feels kind of like a, I don't want to say it's lazy, but it's not the greatest. Tizo Touchdown is a nice performance and good backing vocals, but this song never really gets started for me, you know what I mean? I think you shorten this to a minute and make it an interlude, it would work a lot better for this project. Deep in the Water was the second single released in anticipation for this album, and it's one of the few songs here where Don is actually rapping about like a consistent topic for the whole song. He's rapping about loving his partner, Caliucci's, and having pregnancy sex. And a lot of people are put off by that, but it's a cool, unique topic, and I just think it's cool to see a rapper like Don Toliver, who's always rapping about, like, casual sex and, like, hoes and stuff. I think it's cool to see him, instead of, like, objectifying women for a whole song, actually, like, give some love and care and attention to his partner's relationship. So, good for him. Good for him and Caliucci's. Nice change up from everything else he's saying throughout the album about going to the club to fuck, right? It's a passionate song with a nocturnal synthy trap beat that you could so easily get lost in. Like, I really like the production here. It's very layered. And yeah, like the lyricism here isn't crazy. It's pretty simple, but it is on topic. I like Don's melodic rapping performance on this track, and it's low-key a highlight for the record. Some people are put off by it. I think it's fun. I think it's light. I think it's a nice song. And the fourth disc is Thunder Road. And I like this leg of the album because we're on the last disc here, and this feels like the outro. It's doing the kind of like outro tropes in a mainstream trap album where the last couple of songs get kind of like more grandiose or more, they start to feel like they're more personal. They aren't always that different, but they like get that feeling between the production and between the raps. But we start off with Inside, which also features Travis Scott. And here we get another slowed, moody, intoxicating trap beat where Travis Scott absolutely serenades us on this chorus and shows us why he's a master of melodies and vocal pockets. It's a kind of love-ish song where Travis Scott and Don Toliver reminisce over spending time with their ladies when they're apart from them, when they're outside, at shows, at the club, whatever. But, like, why are you at the club missing your girl to begin with? Just don't go. But anyways, the lyrics are kind of all over the place at points, and they use a double negative on the chorus, which kind of makes it hard to understand what they're even saying. Anytime that I'm not outside, I don't realize that I should be inside with you. Like, it's a bit of a mouthful. But anyways, this song is a strong candidate for one of my favorites. It's carried by the vibes, aesthetics, and melodies, no doubt. And it's the type of song where it doesn't really matter what they're saying because it's catchy and it feels passionate and it hits you in your feels. Even if what they're saying doesn't make the most sense, it still hits because they're on that timing. And this last disc, Thunder Road, does a good job of kind of evoking some emotion from you. And 5 to 10 is a nocturnal, catchy trap song that has very similar vibes to Cardigan in terms of the songwriting and Don Toliver's delivery. And because he's in his melodic bag pretty heavily here, I love Don's high-pitched singing and rapping. But what really makes the song is the excellent, elegant backing strings that I'm going to assume is a violin, maybe a viola, maybe I'm completely off. But throughout the track, they get louder and take the forefront in the instrumental more. And it gives this track a grandiose feeling of just like luxury and importance. And it's one of the best productions here. You get biker bars like Ride Me Like a Motherfucking Harley, just so you can see the level of detail that Don Toliver put into his biker aesthetic on this album. And yeah, he raps about falling for this girl and getting intimate with her. I can go 5 to 10. Last Laugh is another good track where, again, we get some super elegant backing instrumentals. And it just really carries this song where we get this absolutely amazing piano that sets the mood on this track and gets you in your bag right away. This is where the emotional evocation comes from. I really enjoy it. It sounds so great, so elegant. And it's a nice change up from the rest of the album that is very rage-oriented to get these type of luxurious, very well-produced tracks on the last leg. Again, it shows the level of diversity that Don Toliver is bringing sonically to this level, and how refreshing it is. How refreshing this project is, like I said before, because he's bringing you so many different styles and instrumental sounds without doing anything too crazy. He plays it kind of safe. I mean, I'll say it. He's pretty experimental here, to be honest. Even if he's playing with some mainstream tropes, for what we know he can do, he's getting experimental, and he's bringing you a variety of different instrumentals and vibes. Last Laugh, yeah, pretty simplistic songwriting from Don, but this instrumental does a lot of legwork here to make this track super enjoyable and to give it some hard replay value. And here Don's rapping about being in a breakup type of situation where the girl did him wrong, but he gets the last laugh. It's not anything crazy, but shout out to Pilgrim, Tomb, and Vendor for this sick beat. I love it. And now we got the outro, HARDSTONE National Anthem, which is the second track with HARDSTONE in its name. The album's HARDSTONE PSYCHO, but HARDSTONE isn't really like touched up on throughout the album on what it means to Don Toliver. I guess I would have appreciated that if we were gonna use it so aesthetically. But this is another strong and emotionally evocative production on the outro with some haunting background vocals, and this is a cinematic instrumental. Don Toliver, throughout his career, has done a very good job of making his intros and outros on his albums feel climactic and feel different than the rest of the album. Like, I don't know. That's something I've always appreciated about him. Like, the intro and outro on Life of a Don are great at that. And it's probably because he's Travis Scott's protege, because Travis Scott is also incredible at starting and ending an album. He knows just how to do it. But yeah, Don Toliver here gives us a passionate rapping performance, talking about how he turns tears into wine. He has a strong track presence here and closes out the album solidly, talking about how he wears his art on his sleeve and is proud of his work and proud of who he's becoming and all that stuff. I mean, it's a it's a solid way to close the album. He's kind of closing it on top and being like, yeah, like, I'm very happy with myself. I'm happy with the type of music I put out there. I wear my art on my sleeve. I wear my feelings on my sleeve. And that's just who I am. Very solid way to close the album. Yeah, I mean, you guys know me. I'm a pretty big lyrics guy. But despite the simplicity of the lyrics here, Don Toliver is able to evolve his artistry in a necessary way, delivering to us arguably his best project yet. Through a variety of instrumental styles and his great singing chops and vocal versatility, Don crafts a fun, spacey, and passionate soundscape where he is able to get melodic on a bridge and on songs, but also give intense, high-energy rapping performances throughout, showing you the whole range of his craft and his artistry. There's honestly a lot of replay value on this album, with tracks like Brother Stone, with tracks like Inside, but also re-listening to this album, tracks on the latter end, like 5 to 10 and Last Laugh, really stood out to me as tracks where I was like, damn, I forgot how good this was. I forgot how amazing the production was. And it feels like discovering an old gem for the first time in a while again, despite this album only being out a couple of months. But yeah, Don showed that despite his shortcomings as a rapper and lyricist, he is still a very capable artist who can come through when it's important to build a new, innovative world with a variety of vibes and performance styles. Like I said, this is refreshing. This is an album with versatility. And at the end of the day, this album made me more of a fan of Don Toliver than I initially was. I think this is arguably his best album. And with that being said, I will be giving it a low 7. I really enjoyed HARDSTONE PSYCHO. There's a lot of fun moments here. There's a lot of fun tracks. Yeah, there's some weaker moments. The songwriting is not great and all that stuff. But overall, this is a fun, engaging album. And on the fingers, which is the enjoyment rating, I will be giving this 3 of 5 because I do revisit this album a good bit. But yeah, if you guys are still here, I appreciate you coming through. I already shouted out the IG and I shouted out the fucking Spotify podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, all that stuff. Tell me your favorite song on the album in the comments. And be sure to look forward to my Chromacopia review as well as a Travis Scott and Young Thug collaboration tier list coming up. Go check out some of my past videos. There's bangers there. And yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you're doing well. Have the best day. Deuces.